I started playing Pokemon TCG Pocket recently and got very into it very quickly. Started playing at a competitive level, and before I started making some more serious deck lists, which there will be more deck list videos coming, make sure y'all drop a like, subscribe, and check those out, as well as live streams and other content. I thought I would cover my first obsession in Pokemon TCG Pocket, and that's the big homie Dragonite. Especially before the release of Mythical Islands, various versions of the Dragonite deck were my favorite deck in the meta to play, and while it's kind of always been considered a meme deck and is kind of fading into obscurity, I wanted to talk about it before it was completely obscure and gone, because it's still a really fun deck to play. Now, I have a few different versions of the Dragonite deck that I'm going to talk about and include plenty of game footage and stuff like that, but you can see the deck list on the screen as we show our first version of the deck, which is a Dragonite Gerudogon Dragons build. There's a few certain rules that all the Dragonite decks will follow, and there's a few certain differences. As far as the 3 rules to being a Dragonite player, number 1, you always protect your baby dragon, meaning your Dragonairs and your Dratinis, you have to protect at all costs. Dragonite is kind of the sole win con of these decks. Rule number 2, you want to annoy and disrupt whenever possible. I've even been known to break the cardinal rule and run an occasional 1-up copy of Red Card in some of my decks. I'm not saying do that, I'm just saying I have. And rule number 3, you live by the Draco, you die by the Draco. Sometimes your Draco Meteors hit perfectly, and sometimes they won't. That's the nature of playing this deck. So for the first version of this deck, we're going to have a very simple monotype version. We're going to make sure not to run the fire energy. It will try to include your fire energy automatically when you put Gerudogon in the deck. But we've got 2 copies of the entire Dratini line and 2 copies of Gerudogon. That's our whole Pokemon base. That's going to be a running theme here. Now, for the trainers, that's where the decks tend to differ. In general, you're going to want to have 2 Potion, 2 Pokeball, 2 Professor Oak. Retreating is also going to be a priority, but it can vary deck to deck. Because we have Gerudogon in this deck, we're going to be running 2 Leaf, and we're going to throw in an extra X speed. And for like the tech card in this deck, we're going to run 2 copies of Blue to hopefully be able to survive maybe an extra hit or 2 along the way. Giovanni is here only for if you have to go for a tail smack with Dragonair. It can be replaced with a Sabrina or even a Dedenne if you're feeling really spicy. The Gerudogon deck is kind of like the running standard right now, probably the most common one you'll see. But the old standard was to run Dratini and Frostmoth. 2 copies of the whole evolution line. You got 2 Potion, 2 Pokeball, 2 Professor Research. In this deck, we do have evolutions would take up some card spots, some evolutions meaning outside of Dragonite, but we still have room for 2 copies of X Speed, and our special tech card in this deck is Misty, which can allow us to put all of our energy that we generate turn by turn on Dragonite and maybe get our attacks off on Frostmoth without using our energy for the turn on another Pokemon. Frostmoth also has the ability to disrupt and sleep. Only having 4 basic Pokemon in the deck makes your draws pretty consistent, although this deck's kinda lacking top end power until you get the Draco Meteors going, and even then you live by the Draco, you die by the Draco. And so then finally you have my favorite version of the deck, which is the Mew EX version. One thing to note, of course, Mew EX gives your opponent 2 points when knocked out, and this same tactic can also be deployed with Koga and Weezing, but we're going to use Budding Expeditioner as the special tech card in this deck to play keep away with the prize cards, not really utilize our Mews fully at the beginning of the game and allow our Dragonite to build up. Then if our Dragonite does get knocked out, we can fall back on the Mew, having only allowed 1 point. Plus we got 1 copy of Gerudogon here because, as I mentioned, without having evolution Pokemon in the deck, you save a little bit of space. We could fit 1 copy of Gerudogon, and we kind of have an extra slot because retreating is important. We're just going to put Leaf here, but in either the Gerudogon or the Leaf spot, you could put Dedenne, you could put Sabrina, you can mix it up a little bit. As a matter of fact, because I have other decks with Gerudogon in it, I'm going to switch this one up to Dedenne for the matches we're going to play in this video, so make sure y'all stay tapped in for that. Alright, so first match, we got the old school Dragonite Frostmoth. We start with a Snom as our only basic Pokemon. Got Dragonair and Dragonite, but no Dratini. And we don't draw it either, so we just pass turn. Our opponent puts down a Misty, gets 2 heads, which is exactly what they needed. We are still waiting on a Frostmoth or a Dratini. Of course, our Misty whips. And we're not even going to bother attacking. Now we get a Pokeball though. Ooh, not good. Another game with this deck. You got it. Let me just get another game. Alright, so first up we have the old school, the Dragonite Frostmoth. You want to really start with a Snom, but it's just most important than anything to be going second, really. We have 2x speed in hand, and they are leading with a Pokemon that takes 4 energy to attack, so... Rule number 1, always protect the baby. Of course, is in the front of our mind, but until that route fully evolves, we're good. Now we will get the chance to use the professor's research here. And a Pokeball as well. We got 2 Dratini. We'll throw our first energy on the first one and pass the turn. So even if they evolve the Gardevoir this turn, they're not going to be able to attack. So I'm going to stay in and get some damage in. That way, if we draw the Dragonair, we can actually KO this Mewtwo. Do they have the Gardevoir in hand? They use a potion. Haven't laid it down yet if they got it. Nope. But we get the card we're looking for. Still gotta wait on the big guy. And they avoided certain death. But we're gonna hit him with that tail smack. Playing with fire. Yep, they get the Gardevoir. Oh, we lose the Mewtwo here actually, I think. The potion saved him. Got me just off curve. I did use the Frostmoth deck first because it's a bit outdated. This is what replaced the Frostmoth deck in the meta. Here we gotta find a Dratini though. We do have Pokeball in hand. And we go second. That's always good. Nice. And we can just start right there. Alright, my opponent goes for a Misty. Misty is actually diabolical. Misty, I never knew I could dislike you so much. We get a second Gerudo, try to hold him off a little bit longer here. Maybe they don't have the Gyarados in hand. And leave me a comment if you want to vote Misty the biggest professional hater of the year, 2024 and 2025. Oh no. And they really gonna give me 4 water energy in a row? They're doing me so dirty this game. Six water energy in a row? Oh, this is just ridiculous. Bro. Alright, so we got the Mew deck with the Dedenne lead. The one of Dedenne. Pretty good against this here Farfetch'd. Always a little better when we don't go first. But also always a little better when we have the Pokemon we need. Alright, we got Oaks Research for a life right here. Okay. We get a Mew. Now, I don't know if I'm going to do anything with that water energy. Maybe I can use it to retreat. They're going to snipe out my Dedenne. You bastard. Not good. Okay, but we do draw Dratini. Hopefully we can hold him off for a little bit. Hopefully we can live one more here. We have everything we need in our hand just to wait for the water energy. Hopefully we'll come on curve. Facing down double Eggy. No Giovanni though, that's the main thing. That's fine. Ooh, not good. My water energy ain't coming on curve. I think our best hope is to just hope they don't flip a heads here. Well, I know I'm just gonna pick that thing up, so one more turn. Hopefully they don't play a Giovanni and kill us. Okay, here's the flip. They get the heads, but that's fine. Budding Expeditioners in hand. Got the Dratini if we need a sacrifice. And with the random 5 energy, we start dropping Dracos. But it's not really a random 5 energy because we have the leaf in hand, then we can just discard the extra thunder. Anyway, onto the Dracos. Terrible Dracos. Ooh, they get the heads. That's not good. We got 1 potion left, right? Yeah, we need that. Yeah, I'm gonna have to end up retreating at some point even. But let's drop these Dracos, see how they land. Oh wait, no, we win. GG. Hey, we stole one. Like I said, you live by the Draco, you die by the Draco.